Welcome to Leveling Up with Lindsay, the podcast where we dive into leadership, small business, and everything in between. I'm Lindsay, your host and the proud owner of White Peony Boutique, a space created to empower women, build confidence, and foster meaningful connections. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a mom, a friend, or someone just looking for a little inspiration, this is your space to feel seen, supported, and inspired. Join me as we share stories, strategies, and a little bit of life's chaos while navigating what it truly means to level up in starting a business, relationship, and personal growth. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and let's level up together. So I do want to disclose that in this conversation on today's episode, we will be talking about a pretty traumatic experience, as this may be a trigger for some, so this episode may or may not be for you. These are the moments in life that stop you in your tracks, moments that change everything in an instant. About 1 month ago, one of the moments happened to someone that means so much to me and our entire White Peony family. Our operations director and my close friend Autumn and her family have been walking through an unthinkable season after her husband Aaron fell 20 feet from the rafters and was airlifted to the St. Cloud Hospital. In those first hours and days, there was so much fear, so many unknowns, and yet what has unfolded since has been nothing short of an absolute miracle. Aaron is here. He is healing, fighting, and truly beating the odds. It's a story that has reminded every one of us that with faith, community, and love, Aaron is here, healing, fighting, and truly beating the odds. It's a story that has reminded every one of us that with faith, community, and love, anything can happen. As Autumn and I talked about what coming back to work might look like, we also talked about how many people from our White Peony community and beyond have been following their journey, praying for their family, and asking how they're doing. So today felt like the right time to give Autumn the space to share her story, to walk us through what truly happened that day, and what these past weeks have been like, and where her heart is now. Autumn, I can't even begin to put into words how much you mean to me and to all of us here at White Peony. Watching you walk through the past month has been both heartbreaking, but also incredibly inspiring. The strength, the grace, and the faith you carried in the middle of something no one ever could prepare for, it's left us all in awe. Having you back here today, sitting across from me, ready to share your story, it means more than you'll ever know. I know this isn't easy. I know there's still pain and so much healing ahead, but I also know your story is going to touch people in a way that only yours can. You are living proof of what resilience and love look like, and I am so proud of you. Not just as my friend, but as the incredible woman, wife, and mother that you are. So today I'm going to let Autumn take the mic. This is her story, one of faith, heartbreak, hope, and undeniable power of a miracle.
That was a mic drop moment. Wow.
Oof.
You shouldn't have let me hear that one. You should have said that privately.
Well, you know what I think is crazy is we actually, the last podcast interview we did together was the Monday before the accident.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that morning, what that looked like. So on September 24th in the morning, you were at the shed alone.
Yeah.
And my mom and I had gone to a doctor's appointment for myself.
Yes.
And then Emily was at home.
Yep.
You were at the shed alone. So do you want to start with telling everybody about what happened to Aaron, or do you want to walk us through those details?
So my husband was working on a barn in Uppsala, and he actually subs on with a company that builds most of the chicken barns around this area for a specific big chicken company. And on these barns, they do rafters. And on those days, normally my husband, the things that he does, he's not normally up on the rafters as much, but with the short staff, he was up there a little bit more. So my husband was kind of finishing up a part of the roof. And when he went to step, the board was soft and he broke through 20 feet. And during this, we kind of found out after the fact, he had kind of, in these barns, and I've looked at them now, the inside portion, there's very short walls. So he fell more on this side, which is like the only open part of this barn. And then he also fell in the control room, which again was a blessing from God, and also in between two large cables. He tried to catch himself with a nail gun. He doesn't remember any of this. Now we kind of pieced it together with what we found. He broke through 20 feet. He fell on his butt first, back, and then slammed his head backwards. And he fractured his skull, and he had a brain bleed on the lower portion and the top portion of his brain. And when he fell, he was unresponsive at that moment. Yes, I was working, and this is the craziest part, is on Wednesdays is the only day that I'm working alone. And it's just in the morning. I got a phone call from a guy he works with. And when I saw his number, I actually thought it was funny because we were going to help him with a interior idea for their cabin. And I thought he was going to ask me a question. So I answered the phone really energetic. And as soon as he said Autumn, who I knew, and I said no. And he said, Aaron fell, and he's not responding. The problem was, at that moment, Pete was not there. So he's telling me these things relayed from another person.
The person on the phone.
And so from that moment, a lot of that part I don't remember. And so I called Mama Jane, I called Lindsay, I called Emily, somebody to come to work so I could get to the hospital and the ER. And at that point, they weren't even sure where they were going to go to. And at that point, it sounded like they were going to have him go by ambulance.
So you went through your phone.
Yeah.
I just had gotten home from the doctor's appointment. My mom was getting gas. Emily was, of course, at home with her kids. And I literally was going, because we had an event that night, I was going to grab the fruit. I plugged in my phone. I went to start washing the fruit. And as I went quickly, as I was done, I went in my room, grabbed my phone to go. I looked down, and my mom had many calls on my phone. My mom had many calls. I don't even remember if I obviously would have had a call from you as well. And then my mom goes, Lindsay, call me emergency. And my heart stopped. Yeah. And at the time, I actually thought maybe it was, you just go through who it is, what's the, work, I don't even know.
At that point, I almost felt like an out-of-body experience because it just didn't feel real. It's not something one prepares for. And I've had many talks with my husband about how I hate him on the roof, and it just always has scared me. But to actually have that happen was truly a nightmare. And I don't remember a lot of that part. I remember that I had to get picked up off the floor.
Emily was the first one to the shed.
Yeah.
And she said that pulling up to the shed and opening her door, she could hear you screaming and crying through the shed walls. Yep. And she said that is by far the worst sound I have ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah.
And then when my mom got there as well, their feedback was that they picked you up off the ground.
Yep.
Got you into my mom's car.
Yeah.
At that point, I, got connected with my mom. With you guys on the phone, I could hear you just cry in the background. And I paced around my house and I said a few swear words to God and saying, Aaron, don't you even blankety blank think about it. Yeah. And I kept saying, we need you, Autumn needs you, Autumn needs you. My dog thought that I was yelling at her, so she bowed down and was crunched down hiding. And I was like, it's okay, honey. Yeah. And I called a couple people. But the fact, Autumn, that you don't remember that piece, I 1000% can understand why.
Yeah. Because at that moment, I still didn't know if he was going to make it or if he was alive.
Well, you didn't have the information.
Yeah, it was very vague. They just kept saying he wasn't responsive. He wasn't waking up. And at that time, too, we didn't know what hospital he was going to be at. We just raced to St. Cloud hoping that they would bring him there. I had gotten a message that they no longer were taking an ambulance, that they were taking a helicopter. That's when my heart sank because I knew it must have been bad if they weren't taking him by the road. And so thank God they did, though. I am very thankful for that. And we got into the ER, and it's, again, one of those things that you've been to the ER before for, your kids or for yourself for something minor. But when you're there for something that tragic, it is like a whole different experience. And you get pushed into this room. It's called the family room, and you're with everyone. I couldn't even sit in a chair. I didn't even want to be my own skin at that point. I was just out of body and waiting for my husband to get there. Minute by minute that goes by, it just feels like hours. And finally, all of a sudden we hear that he's there.
In the moments leading up to that, I'll take it back to
Yeah.
an outside perspective. So you had instantly when I showed up, so it was obviously Mama Jane,
Yep.
Steph, and Aaron's brother
Yep.
were there, your sister,
His mom.
his mom. In that room, I will never forget. You were hunched in the corner of the wall, like holding your knees, like sitting there moaning and crying. And Steph wrapped her arms around you
Yeah.
and said, should we say a prayer? Like she was crying.
Yeah.
And my mom and I had our like heads down in our laps, like our hands praying. Steph was like, should we pray together? And you said, yeah. And out loud, Steph said the most beautiful prayer.
Yeah. I
And
remember
then that right after that, they were like, okay, the helicopter. And then that's, I could see it in your whole body just tremble.
Yeah.
And we're like, we didn't know at that point from
Yep.
the time that you got the phone call. This is what I
Yes.
tell everybody.
Yeah.
From the time that you got that phone call until the time that Aaron arrived at the emergency room at St.
Yep.
Cloud Hospital, not one of us knew if he was alive.
Yes.
We just knew that he was unresponsive. And can I be
Yeah.
completely frank here?
Yeah.
I would never in a bajillion years have made an ounce of this or said anything of it. But to me,
Yeah.
going through what I went through with a couple of traumas, to me, that was their nice way of saying he didn't make it.
Yeah.
So I was holding on to that and I was like, and that's all we knew. We knew nothing. They got him in. And then everybody was so, I know for you, that time from when you knew he got in the helicopter till he arrived probably felt like
It felt like hours. It felt like hours.
To me as an outsider,
Yeah.
I feel like not going through what you're going through, but watching one of my, oh gosh, here we go. One of my very best friends and what feels like family to me suffering so deeply, so damn deeply. It did feel like we blinked and they were there.
Yeah.
They said the helicopter took 8 minutes from the time that they left to the time that they arrived.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even believe it. But
Yeah.
the craziest thing was like you were sitting there and then a couple more people arrived.
Yep.
And then Aaron's brother and your sister were out in the hallway taking like a moment.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, in that moment, they saw him be carted by.
Yes.
It was honestly,
They said
I
they
couldn't
saw him.
believe it. They're like,
Yes.
they came in, flew in the door.
Yeah.
And your sister's like, Adam, we saw him.
Yeah.
We saw him.
Yeah.
And he moved.
Yeah. And again, at that time, we didn't know if he was alive. I didn't know what he was going to look like. And also, just to back up a little bit, I had found out that in the police report, and we had seen this when we were in the trauma bay, but Aaron had blood coming out of his eyes, his nose, and his mouth. And we actually had a couple of police officers tell us that they have never in their life ever seen someone with a brain injury with blood coming out of their eyes ever make it. And so they did not think he was going to make it either. And I'm glad I didn't know this at the time. But again, he has defied a lot of odds in this whole grand scheme of things.
You were like, I just need to see him. I
Yeah.
just need to see him. And my mom and I were like, we'll give you guys this. The room was getting full of people.
Yeah.
This little tiny.
Yeah.
And so we're like, we'll step outside because we didn't know they had to do a full scan of
Yes.
him, full body evaluation. And we're like, okay, let's just step out of this room to give you guys space. I was like, Mom, we have to go outside. Like, I can't breathe. I've had traumatic experiences in the past, but like this was something next level. Anyways, so we went out there and I think within 5 minutes, your sister came out, flew out there so graciously to tell us like, we saw him. We couldn't even believe what came out of her mouth and so quickly.
Yeah.
Then I walked in. They're like, come on. She's like, you can come in the room. And I was like, I don't know if your girl is going to pass out. I need to be strong for Autumn. I kept thinking I need to be strong. Anyways, we went into the room and that's where I just couldn't even believe what I saw.
Yeah, so he got carted into the trauma bay is what they call it, and there he was, and he was yelling. First off, he was remembering what had happened, but he hated the neck brace and he wanted to get that off.
Hated that thing.
He really hated it. And they eventually took it off because they cleared him that his neck was not broken. And then one of the neurologists came in and he showed me the brain bleeds and kind of the worst part of it, but cleared everything else. There was not one broken bone besides his fracture on his skull on that man's body. Falling 20 feet Somehow he had not broken one bone.
There have been doctors and nurses throughout the hospital and actually even at his PT outside
Yes.
that have been like, you're it. You're the
Yes.
guy.
Yes.
You're the miracle.
Literally, we have had doctors and therapists say that he is a miracle so many times because he's defied so many odds that, and I think God knew that I needed that because it has been, we were just talking, it feels like a decade, even though it's only been a month, and the progress he has made has been miraculous, but also feels like forever at the same time. So we got him into the trauma bay. We found out he has a traumatic brain injury and they have to do some more scans and they had to do kind of get him set up to get to the ICU and get him started there.
They did a full body scan. I was there because the neck brace.
Yeah.
He wanted that sucker off.
Yeah.
And he like screamed like, oh, he was like, get this off. I instantly, when I went in there, I looked at you. You were like, everybody was like over his bedside instantly. The fact that he moved and he literally was talking.
Yes. Yes.
Do you remember that part or not? Because I feel like the shock that went over everyone's body.
I remember parts of it, but I feel like parts of it like comes in and out. It's choppy.
I can completely understand why, Autumn.
Yeah.
Because that, here's the thing. As a friend that literally you feel like, to me, I know you and Aaron would do anything for me at any given moment. Yeah. And I would do the same.
Yeah.
There is a connection, a family connection that is like, what do you need? What do we gotta do? There's like, we've always done like mental health checks and all the things, like talks about our kid, every single thing. And when you have somebody so close to you go through something like that, I couldn't help but not almost like try to put myself in your body to understand, to like help. I wanted to take it all away. And I know you wanted to take that away from Erin, but I literally kept staring at you like, oh my God, I can't imagine how she's feeling. I can't imagine, what you're thinking. But I was like, I was trying to like prepare the next step, but like anything I could do. You had the best team with you, your family.
Oh, that is.
Adam.
Yeah.
Like, I was so consumed with complete, like my heart was so full seeing everyone just pour into you as you would pour into anyone else. But I could not help but try to, not, I don't know, just.
I was allowed to just be Aaron's wife at that moment.
You were,
yeah. I didn't have to, I just could be that. And that's all I could do at that moment. And they took care of the phone calls, they anticipated everything I needed. And
it was amazing.
It's what I needed at that point.
And when I came into his room and I did see instantly, like we were just in shock. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to, like, I felt like I've frozen as I think everyone else did. Yeah. Because we couldn't believe, like everyone listening, we thought something happened to him for like, I keep telling people an hour and a half from the time of the phone call to this. It could have been more. It could have been less. I don't even know.
Yeah. I just know it happened at 10:40 a.m., but after that, I don't know any time frame. And it just was a blur.
But when I walked in the room, too, and saw, like, the blood in his eyes, I literally was taken back because I was like, oh, my God, I've never witnessed that before, which I don't work in the hospital, of course.
Yeah.
And then I just remember this part I do have to sneak in here because, no, I'm going to wait. There's a special moment that I got a phone call when we went back outside to take a breath. And there is a God wink that happened and an angel that was absolutely, and I'll tell that story in just a little bit, but I didn't know. My mom's like, she's not going to remember right now. And you sat down and then we're like, breathe, Autumn. You've got to breathe. You've got to breathe. You've got to breathe. Because I think all the emotions were just coming in your body and trying to come out and all the things.
There's a difference, I think, and I felt this a couple times in my life. One, when I had my first miscarriage, and two, when we had to put my dog down, where you can cry, but there's a grief cry that consumes your whole body, where you can't control the noises, the sounds, anything that comes out of your body. It's like, it's an uncontrollable, natural, like, exuding of emotions. And I feel like I had that where it was just like the noises, the crying, the everything was just flowing out of me, and I just could not stop it because I was grieving so much unknown.
Yeah.
For my husband, for my family, for my kids, for the life that I knew before this. You know, it was just so much. And I tell people this all the time. Again, this guy did not break a bone, but he had a traumatic brain injury, which I am very unfamiliar with. Brain bleeds, I've never encountered anyone. My brother-in-law has had a traumatic brain injury, but not to this extent. And the thing about those is everyone is different. There's no 6 to 8 week healing time. There's no linear progression. There's no healing of a bone. It is literally person by person basis. And that was crushing because I'm a person that needs to know, I need to plan, I need to do that. And it was up to God at that point. And I felt so helpless and scared.
Mm-hmm.
So when they told me that he had this brain bleed, again, it sounds scary, but I think in that moment you still think like, okay, well, he's talking, he didn't break a bone, he's okay. And when they wheeled me up to ICU and they told me the minimum amount of days is 10 to 14, I looked at Steph and she looked at me and we understood this was way bigger than we thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I broke down again at that point because I realized that this was pretty serious. And the other problem was we weren't over the hill yet. The scariest was yet to come. And that was even harder to understand, is that the fall wasn't even the worst part, is that his brain peak swelling is day 3 to 5. So I had to watch my husband almost get worse before he got better. And that was traumatic. Those were the hard days and really scary because you didn't know what you were going to get at the end. But they are not lying, 3 to 5.
Yeah, you said that.
And day 6, my Aaron started to come back.
I remember you on the phone saying, because leading in those days, you were at the hospital in the ICU with him 24/7 and sleepless nights because you were listening to him.
He was so restless, so uncomfortable. They check on you every single hour and do neuro checks, which he was not doing well at, which was scary. He was so restless. He didn't sleep. He was uncomfortable, but they couldn't give him pain meds because he needed to be awake for his neuro checks. And it was complicated. He had to have a PICC line, blood checks. We had to do another CT scan because we were nervous. It was getting worse. There was just so many things that happened during that 3 to 5 window. But what I will say in that time frame and being in the ICU and just being in the hospital in general, I've always admired nurses and doctors. I've always appreciated them. But I will say, once you're there for the worst days of your life, these nurses and doctors are everything.
Everything.
And they breathe life into me. I have such good words to say about every single nurse and doctor that was in there during it, because I was so scared and I needed to know and I needed to feel like I was part of the conversation, and I was. And those nurses took such good care of him, and they also took care of me, honestly, and just wish that I could do so much for them, because I said on the worst day of my life, they are showing up for work and just being. They're just doing what they do every single day on my worst day.
They are the epitome of the one of the most thankless jobs.
100%.
And that is the epitome of doing a role that you just can't even fathom the lives that you're touching every single day.
Literally. And like I said, I always have appreciated doctors and nurses, and I don't think that everyone should have a traumatic issue for us to feel this depth, but I did experience more depth in the nursing care and the doctors that took care of us in 13 days we were there, because truly those days were the darkest, and those nurses helped me through that every single day because I was so scared. It was so unknown, it was so scary, and it was hour to hour.
Literally hour to hour.
That is.
And as I've learned from our conversations, with the, like how you're saying, and I've learned through you, is how the brain recovers. And it's not just like Autumn said, it's not linear. It is like one step forward, 10 steps backwards, 5 steps forward, 1 step backwards. Every single hour is so different.
So different. In that too, the brain continues to swell, the bleeding spreads. They have to monitor all of these things, but it also depends on where you hit, where the bleeding is, that can affect later in life.
Everything.
So the first part, we're wondering if we're going to have to intubate him and if he's going to have brain surgery to relieve the pressure. So we're watching for those physical manifestations, but then we're also worrying about the emotional side of afterwards. Once the swelling is done, is he going to have all his faculties? Is he going to have his personality? Is he going to have his just being able to walk and talk, his normal, those things? Like, you can't guarantee that. And those were there's just so much to comprehend during all of this. And then you realize not only are you the wife, but you're a parent, and that was also really hard to navigate. And I had an amazing team to help me. Honestly, I couldn't have done it without them, but still trying to figure out how to be that parent for them, strong for them when inside you feel so broken. That is hard. You have to show up even when you're broken. And that's a mom power that people don't talk about.
That is such an understatement, Autumn. Tell us, so when was the first time because
that was really hard to figure out when I was going to tell my kids, because I obviously could not tell them that first day. It was such a traumatic day, getting from the emergency room to ICU to settled in to figuring out life and just staying there and figuring out stability. And I was going to tell them the next day when they got off the bus. The problem is that it was already on the news. And so people were already hearing about it. And so parents obviously talk about it, and there's nothing wrong. I mean, people are just curious and talking and love Aaron. And so, kids can hear. And so I was nervous they were going to hear it in school before I was able to tell them. Luckily, they only heard one kind of small thing on the bus on the way home. And I sat them down, and they had all these like wonderful things to tell me. They were excited to see me inside. And my daughter, who is not normally my most empathetic child, she could read me, and she's like, "What's wrong, Mom?" And I said, "Oh, nothing." And I had them go upstairs, and I sat them down, and I looked at them, and I said, "Guys, I have to tell you something." But I said, "I want you to know that Dad's okay." And before I even could say anything, again, you realize how different your kids are and how they handle situations like this. Before I even could say what was going on, my daughter already starts crying. And I said, "Just wait, Weston." I said, "Just let me tell the story, and then we'll talk about it." And he's doing okay. And so my son was just kind of taking in the information, and I told him that he had a fall and he hit his head. He was at the St. Cloud Hospital. He had so many doctors caring for him, and he's alive, and he's, trying to get better. He's really tired right now, and kind of gave him just what they needed to know at that point. I knew that it wasn't right for them to see him yet, because that would have been worse for them. It took, I think we were on day 5 before they saw him. And that's because he finally was more responsive.
Yeah.
Those first 4 days, for sure, he barely said hi. So we all hugged each other. My son once he felt comfortable, he cried in my arms, my daughter, and we just cried for a little bit. And I think too, I learned in all of this that it's also okay to show your kids that it's okay to be sad. And like, as much as I want to show strength and courage and all the things, they're also going to see me sad. And in those moments, it's okay. But also knowing, like, I still need to keep face for them. That was a hard navigation. And again, I had such a tribe that looked out for my kids and their emotional well-being, not just physical, but like their emotional well-being. I knew where they were at every single day, between teachers and the people caring for them and everything in between, that made me feel okay to be away for a little bit, because I knew my kids were being cared for, not just watched, just cared for, which I could not be more grateful for in that moment. Again, there are so many things that I've learned in this experience of the community, my friends, and my family, because when tragedy strikes, you are just kind of in your bubble and you're in your own world, and nothing else really, you can't even fathom hold on to anything. You can't intake anything. And the people that came out of the woodwork, you guys, this is the part that makes me the most emotional. This is the part that I want to make clear. I want to express during the hardest time of our lives. You don't expect anything from anyone because you're in your own world, your life, your kids, your family. You know, you lean on your family, but you don't expect the people that came out of literally the woodworks, you guys, that supported between messages, donations, acts of kindness, just everything, the prayers. There was a moment, and we go to church, but my husband is not as religious as I am, is not deep in his faith as I am. And there was a moment when we were in the ICU, and I looked at him and I said to him, "You have so many prayers." And he goes, "I know, I can feel it." And I just broke down because he would never say that. The prayers, the messages, everything, I could not believe it. The people that cared, the messages that I read about my husband, who knew him and who knew his heart and who he was and supported us in this time when I was so lost and scared and didn't know the next step or what the next day would look like. Those were the things that I will never take for granted. And actually this weekend, and everyone's like, "You're crazy," but this weekend we're doing a community thank you feed. And I told my husband after he was better, I said, on my heart, we need to do something for the community that came out for us, because these are the moments, being in a small town, where this comes into play. And this small town, they literally put their arms around us, and we knew we were taken care of. Even my son's teacher brought him to football practices.
Oh, wow.
For days, for weeks, brought him to games to keep Wyatt busy, to keep his mind. Like, I'm telling you guys, the entire wrestling team brought my son to wrestling practice. He didn't miss a practice. He never missed a beat to keep my kids on a regular schedule. But I told my husband, I said, on my heart, I need to thank the community, because one thank you is not enough, and it'll never be enough. And my husband loves to cook, and he said, "I want to do like a feed. I want to feed." And I said, "Sure." And I had a couple people like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, you know what? It sounds crazy, but it's what we can do. And it's what we want to do. And so we're doing a community feed. Literally the whole town's invited. And we're doing some stuff for the wrestling team because they have gone above and beyond for us and so many things. And the one thing too, with all of that being said, is that now going through a tragedy and seeing the things that mattered, even the smallest, like people doing things without being asked. It's even more than monetary. It's just like taking care of your household chores or making sure your animals are fed or just all of those things. Childcare, what have you, has given me great perspective on the next time I see or know somebody that's going through a tragedy like that, to anticipate their needs, because we've lived it. And I think that's a perspective that I'm gaining from this, is that one, humanity is alive and well, and kindness is still there. And I think in a world where we see so much negativity and we see so much scarcity and we see so much anger and sadness in the world, seeing what I've seen in the last month truly has instilled humanity inside of me. Kindness is still very prevalent in this world, and I am literally a living proof of that, because I can show you the messages, the donations, the acts of kindness, the everything in between that people who know me, who barely know us, have done and said, and everything, because we were in this terrible accident, and I just want to pay it forward. I believe God has put that upon us. Like, I have to learn something from this. And there's a lot of lessons I've learned, but one of them is how amazing community is, how much a simple act of kindness means to somebody, and how much just lending a hand to somebody in the time of need. There's been a lot of moments when we were at the hospital, actually. This was crazy. I asked God, while I was receiving all these beautiful messages, those first 5 days, I couldn't even look at messages. I couldn't receive the kindness because it was too overwhelming. I'm not one to, and neither is my husband. We're hard to receive things from people. And it was really hard to receive them at first because it was just so overwhelmingly kind. And I asked God, I said, can you just give me a sign? I need to do something with this. And that day, there was 2 GoFundMes that popped up on my feed. One was for another brain injury for a local man who was self-employed and he had a motorcycle accident, and one was for a little boy. And I donated to both of those, and it still didn't feel like that was it. And I walked down to the cafeteria to get some food, and this guy in front of me was trying to pay for a sandwich with 2 different credit cards. And I was like, I've got you. And this guy literally was so grateful. And he was like, thank you. And I said, no big deal. I've got you. And it's those small acts of kindness in this world that make a difference. And I believe I will keep doing that to the day I die. And I think with that also being said, there's a couple of things that I did want to mention with that. When I say these small acts of kindness, I did see God's small wins during this whole time. And I think that's what we had to hold on to. And because everything was so scary, even the slightest small win felt like the biggest victory at that time because that's all we had. And we didn't know if we were going to get another one. And that was really scary, but also I had to live in that. And it made me really grateful. And everyone around me also cheered him on when he did the smallest acts. I had a group of my really tight, in the know people that I kept every small, tiny tidbit. I would inform them of what was going on, what was happening, information. And they were just such great cheerleaders. They were always in the know, always asking questions, transitioning who was going to be there with me. It was just, there's never going to be words to thank the people in my life for what they have done. And I will never be able to do that. But I hope they know, and they know who they are, that forever grateful. And I'll never be able to repay that. And I hope I never have to in that way. But I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. And there is a quote in the scripture that said, when I couldn't stand, others stood for me. When I couldn't pray, they prayed louder. And I felt that so much to my core. There were days I just was so numb and so zombie-like. The people around me, the prayers, the tribe that carried us through, honestly carried me through all of it and lifted me up, my husband up, my family up, kept my kids happy and not having to be scared. It was just something I'll never be able to put into words besides grateful. And there's nothing more powerful than that.
There's one thing that in my heart, and when speaking to the Lord above in the beginning, and for anyone that is so close with Adam and Aaron, if there is one thing that this entire journey has been, it has been truly, honestly, what you may not see now, but repayment for even the acts that Aaron and Adam have done for everyone else prior to this. And it may not feel like that is the case for this extreme of a tragedy, of course. However, what the community showed and what I've witnessed with Adam and Aaron's tribe is exactly what they would have done for anyone else, including, I know, if it were my family. Seeing this community come together, seeing Autumn's immediate family, closest friends wrap their arms around these guys, like, it has been an incredible miracle.
Yeah, that is probably the most common word when it comes to Aaron that I have heard and can only say about him is he is truly a miracle in so many ways. Coming from the fact that he didn't need surgery on his brain. I've had nurses tell me they were amazed he didn't need to be intubated. We got close with his oxygen, but he didn't need to be intubated. We got close with his brain swelling, but he didn't need surgery. He
fell 20 feet and didn't have a broken bone.
Not one broken bone. When we got into, so day 5 and then day 6 happened, and Aaron looked at me and he said a full sentence. And that is when I was like, oh my, he's back. Like I saw my husband for the first time. And from that day forward, bits and bits more. He was coming back and coming back. He's still talking to him now. He doesn't really remember anything until we got into inpatient rehab. But even in progressive, by the way, ICU, that's a really scary place.
Yeah.
It's a really sad place because no one's there for like anything minor.
It's very.
And you're seeing other family members in the same grief that you are. And after a while, I developed like a comfort at the hospital. And that's something I did not expect. I'm a very outward person, and I developed severe anxiety being in the public. I had an anxiety attack in Target. I had to call my sister-in-law, and it was horrible. And I felt not like myself, and I was scared to see anyone. And I realized that I was scared to talk to anyone because I'd have to relive it over and over again. And I was still in the thick of not knowing if I was getting my Aaron back. And I think that truth was too hard to talk about. And I also felt like if I didn't give people what they wanted, that Aaron was alive, he wasn't broken, and the good parts, but not saying all the scary parts, I felt like I was lying. It just was this mixed emotion that I was feeling. So I just felt safe at the hospital. And that was a weird reality for me. As we went from ICU to progressive, my husband was getting better. People coming to our house and helping with yard work. We had just this last weekend, we got nominated for we have a local school here, St. Boniface, and they do a workathon every year. We got nominated to do raking leaves. That was incredible to watch. And now it means even more to me to donate to that because that is such a cool offering that they do. And I think it's just redefined for me, like what community means. I think it's redefined for me on that progress that we were seeing with Aaron and the people that wanted to know. And I realized that, the telephone system of people, I wanted people to know how Aaron was really doing. I wanted the truth out there. I wanted all of his cheerleaders to be in the know too. So I started on my Facebook, I started giving updates and videos because I wanted everyone to celebrate alongside of us. And I was ready to showcase that the miracle was alive and he was well. And every day was truly a miracle because every day I felt like we just saw more and more light come back. And then we had to get okayed to be in inpatient rehab. And that was when the real work began because he hadn't moved in, 10 days.
I was gonna say, like almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, almost 2 weeks. And he had a lot to work through. Physically, he was still in a lot of pain. His back, which we just had kind of taken care of, he had some back issues. It was just a lot to kind of deal with and work with and trying to figure stuff out. And
because he had to, it was crazy that inpatient, you said,
yeah,
not only did he have, he was learning to walk again,
yes,
slowly walk, very slow.
Yes. Just stand
with
up.
help to stand up with a walker.
Yeah.
That to even have a walker, that took a long time.
Literally.
Even I was amazed at the pictures or the videos that you sent where he had to they have mock steps.
Yeah.
That you take a step up, take it, step down. And then even a mock vehicle.
Yes.
In therapy where they want you to, and you can explain this, but
yeah,
it was very interesting.
It was very interesting because I've done physical therapy for minor things, but to see someone like that doing the things and pushing him, this was day one. He got down there day one. They're seeing what he's capable of doing. And this man has not moved besides going to the bathroom. So yeah, they have a mock, it almost looks like a safari car. It's kind of cool. And then they'd actually height adjust it to what your vehicle would kind of be. So to see if you can get into it from the passenger side, but they adjust to your vehicle. And this is to show how you scoot in, how to use the car to your advantage to get in. Even the stairs, they try to show you how to approach it better. It's just a very interesting way of not only just testing them, but showing this is how we want you to start. And this is what I want you to use. And it taught me a lot. Aaron has, and he still deals with a lot of light issues, light sensitivity causing migraines. And they said that might last a while, but we're working through it. We're finding blue light blockers that are helping,
Yep.
sunglasses, his hat helps. For the last week, he has not used a walker.
That's incredible.
Yeah. He doesn't walk far. I mean, he's not walking like miles or anything, but he has balanced enough that he can walk without a walker. And he actually graduated from OT.
Which is
So that was a big win for us.
They
and
did give him a cortisone shot in his back because
Yes.
he has been having issues, back pain,
that was
legs.
our biggest. He was having numbness on his left side and really extreme back pain and leg pain. And it was happening pretty instantly. As soon as he'd wake up, if he'd be in any position longer than 10 minutes, he's feeling numbness. So we did an MRI and realized he had a bulging disc in his back, a little tear. And so they did a cortisone shot in his back, and he is feeling much better.
Because they weren't sure if they were going to do surgery or not.
Yes.
So
we were nervous that he was going to have a compression in his spine, and then he would have needed to have back surgery, and that would have been a little bit scarier. But thank the Lord, he did not need that. And so he's already feeling much better with that. And right now he sees a speech therapist and a physical therapist. His occupational therapist was one of the ones that said, I've been doing this for 30 years and you are one of a handful of miracles that have walked in my door. That's not the only one that has said that, because the police officers have said that.
Please.
We've also had one of our doctors say that. And I believe that too, because there's been so many stories that I have heard, and the progress that Aaron has made in this month's time. My sister-in-law used to work on the neuro unit, and she said she has never seen anyone progress that fast from a head trauma like his. And I'm just so thankful for
so
that.
thankful. So what does the road ahead look like for Aaron?
Yeah, so right now, Aaron is doing really well. We are working on his processing speed, because if you talk to Aaron right now, you would say Aaron is back. And that has been actually one of my favorite things for people that see him now, to see their eyes light up, because I've been with him every single day. So it's almost like when you watch your child grow, you don't notice those big wins as much as someone who, even a week's time,
Oh,
it changes.
I can attest to that.
Yeah.
I literally saw the day Aaron and Autumn went home.
Yeah.
I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was nervous for
Yeah.
you, because
Mhm.
I was like,
He was not well.
that is not they went home from the hospital, and I was like, Tara and I were taken back after, we had a short conversation with you guys, because it broke my heart a little bit. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna lie, because I was
Yeah.
not Aaron.
Yeah.
And selfishly,
Mhm.
we all know,
Yeah.
we're like, Autumn needs, like, we say
Yeah.
our prayers, like, girlfriend,
need my
you
bed.
need your Aaron,
Mhm.
obviously.
Yes.
But selfishly, I need Aaron.
Yeah.
for white peony.
Yes.
I say that because of the market. It's
Yeah.
crazy up market. All the things that I touched, that I was like, Aaron's built this for me and built that for me and helped here and helped there. And anyways, but
And even in Aaron's goofy state, my husband mentioned market
course.
so many times to make
Not
sure
to
people
come
were
to
taking.
market.
Yeah, he told me, you guys, and he was having some hallucinations and some like kind of weird stuff happening in rehab. And he said he'll watch the kids for me and I could go to market. And I said, oh no,
that's what
buddy.
you're gonna
Oh,
hallucinate
okay.
about. I will say, so this happened on Wednesday.
Yep.
And we had market the week and a half later.
Yes.
And these two, Autumn and Aaron, are my life link when it comes to pretty much any
Mhm.
big moments with White Peony. White Peony, where it's at today because of them. And even the market. And so that was emotional for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Not because of the work and stuff like that. I just mean like
It's part of it,
it
yeah.
was like, these guys are my people.
Yeah.
And it brought me back to remembering all the little things too. Like
Yeah.
the grand opening for St. Joe, my husband was on a hunting trip. Guess who was here with me at every moment? Every win, every Snooki bun, which is an inside joke.
Yes. Waterfall cardigan. He learned that.
Aaron and Autumn have been there with me.
Yeah.
So it was emotional.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is, from the moment that we saw them, that within 5 to 6 days after, No,
Yeah.
maybe it was 7, whatever. Anyways, I saw Aaron and Autumn in person and we had lunch and I kind of couldn't talk. Like I
Yeah.
was just kind of staring at Aaron because I was like, I'm literally talking to a miracle. Like, I'm
Fair.
sorry, I can't really believe that this is real, that
Yes.
we got our Aaron back.
Yeah.
And there's a long road ahead, a long road ahead. But
And that is funny you say that because that also happened with my sister-in-law. She told me, I actually just saw her this weekend, and she hid some things from me because she has a medical knowledge base. She's a nurse, and there are some things that she didn't tell me just because it would have not helped my soul that I'm grateful for. That again, Aaron kind of beat some odds, but also there are times that Steph, like it would be a couple days in between, and she would talk to Aaron and she would just bust out in tears because she's like, I cannot believe this. And so, yeah, he's just defied so many odds. He's still, so yeah, if you talk to Aaron now, and that is probably one of my favorite things, is there's so many people that look at him and with wide eye and mystical, whatever, because truly he is a walking miracle.
Yeah.
He is walking around, he is talking, his personality is there. Obviously, we're dealing with just some processing things, but like overall, like I know we're going to get him back.
I love that so
Yeah,
much.
we're going to get him back.
I love that. And I am so dang happy to have you back.
Oh, was
Cue the tears.
Yeah, I asked her, this was a couple weeks ago. I had sent a message and said, "Hey, just wondering when I can integrate back," and she didn't message me back. And then I hearted it because I said,
I did.
"You're avoiding me and my
I
question."
did actually.
And then the next time I talked to her, I said, "I have to ask you, did you just avoid my question or you just don't want me back yet?" And she goes, "I didn't see it."
No, I really didn't.
I said, "I'm ready to come back," because now Aaron's at the point that I don't need to be there physically as much for him anymore. He's trustworthy. I can trust he can take care of himself. It's just chauffeuring him right now, but
Phone call updates like I just
yeah, just to bring him to appointments and stuff and that. But I need this white peony during this time, the support and the love. There are moments in your life that happen, and when a tragedy like this happens and the people show up and show out, you know exactly why you're meant to be where you are. And when this all happened and everything that Lindsay and White Peony has done for me and my family during this time, I'll never be able to even express into words how grateful we are. It's been a lot, and she has checked up on me every single day. She has been there for my family, even beyond this. When this happened, I have never felt more supported and loved, and especially not only by a friend, but to ask that from somebody you work for. You couldn't ask for better. And I am incredibly grateful and so happy to be back and to work off all of the
I
gratitude
don't think I can come back.
that I have for everything that she's done and what White Peony means to my family. Truly, this definitely solidified that for me. Not that I ever question it, but you really find that out in moments like this. And it was a wow moment for me. So thank you, Lindsay.
We're definitely going to have to dance this off.
Sure.
Okay. I'd just like to ask one more question
Yeah.
for you. Looking back at everything that's happened, for anyone listening who is going through their own unimaginable season right now, what are words of encouragement you could give to someone else?
Yeah. This is such a great question. I actually have this written down too, and this is where you have to lean in. And if that means leaning into your best friend, if that means leaning into your family, if that means leaning in more to your faith, you have to lean in because you can't do it alone. And when you get to feel that loneliness, you need to talk to somebody because it creeps up on you really quickly. And it's really easy to feel alone and feel stuck there. And there's been people that have reached out from their tragedies, their stories that help me actually in my grief. And I think that's something to hold on to too, that hearing other people's stories of triumph and hearing people's stories of overcoming something similar has also helped me a lot, because knowing that this isn't the end. And what you're going through right now doesn't mean that's the story and that's the way that it's going to end for you. That's part of a chapter, and the rest is still to be written, and you get to choose how that is. And the best I can say is you have to lean in and let the people help you. And that was probably my hardest lesson to learn, was to let them help. And once I threw my hands up because I couldn't do anything else and let people take care of me and my family, that is when the healing started. I just want to let you know that with Aaron's progress and where he is right now, our story is not over. It is still being written at this moment, and I'm still learning and we're still learning. But what I will say is I have learned to be grateful for every small moment, for every small detail, to be more present in our lives, because in a moment's notice that can be taken away. And there's been so many small, minuscule, unimportant moments that I've had recently where I just sit back and go, we are so blessed. And I think that's one thing to take away from all of this, from tragedy like that, is to sometimes just sit back on things that don't feel big and just be grateful for what you have at that time. Because like I said, in the blink of a phone call, it can all change. And that is the reality of that. And also, if you've ever been carried by somebody else, if anyone's ever lent a hand, a thank you goes a long way. And if you haven't yet, I highly suggest you be that to somebody else, because I will tell you what, it means the world to someone else.
I would say that message is so powerful, and something I learned a long time ago. But when you are at a grocery store, when you have to stop and get gas, when you pass a stranger in Target, or I don't know, just walking in a normal hall, you never know what someone is going through. How you respond, how you act just walking by that person, what you can leave with them, even in a glance, in a smile, in your words, it matters so, so much. I don't think there are words enough to describe what it means to sit across from you today, to see you here, to hear your voice, and to witness your strength. You've walked through something that no one could ever prepare for, and yet you've carried it with grace, grit, and a faith that has moved everyone who's followed your story. Your honesty today, the way you've led us into the hardest moments and the hopeful ones, it's going to touch more people than you'll ever know. To our listeners, I just want to say thank you for being a part of this community that has wrapped so much love around Autumn and Aaron and their kiddos. So many of you have prayed, donated, sent messages, and asked for updates. And I hope that hearing this story straight from Autumn gives you a glimpse into the miracle you've all been a part of. I also hope it reminds you of something so powerful, that life can change in an instant, but faith can anchor us through anything. That even when things feel broken, love has the powerful power to rebuild. And that the smallest acts of kindness, the texts, the meals, the prayers, they truly do matter. Autumn, I'm so unbelievably proud of you. You are the definition of resilience. You've shown us what unwavering love looks like in action, and what it means to keep believing when everything around you feels uncertain. And to everyone listening, please keep Aaron and Autumn's family in your prayers as they continue this long road of recovery. Healing definitely takes time, but miracles don't stop here. Thank you for listening, for caring, and for being part of this community that leads with heart. Until next time, friends, hold your people close. Don't take a single moment for granted, and keep believing in the power of hope. This was heavy, definitely a bit emotional.
Yes.
But let's go out with a high note.
So Aaron called in the middle of this podcast and we didn't want to cut it out. So listen now. Aaron's calling me right now.
Answer it.
Hello. Hi. Hi. It's going great. I'm actually doing a podcast about you.
Will you speakerphone him?
Yeah. Hi.
Well, hello, sir.
You're on the podcast. Is there anything you'd like to say?
He just butt dialed me and told me that last Friday he was pulling the lull home from the shop and got sucked into the ditch, and the lull and the gooseneck rolled like 3 times and broke the lull and broke the axles on the gooseneck trailer, but somehow it came unhooked from his truck.
Wow. Well, God is good, man. Wow. He's really looking out for you boys. Yeah. Wow.
He goes, I'm actually kind of glad I came on hooked. He goes, we might be sitting having coffee together for the next couple of weeks.
Oh my God.
I was like, yeah, dude, that would have been a hell of a ride if your truck would have rolled twice with it.
Part of a club nobody wants to be part of.
That's funny.
Apparently.
Yeah. Wow.
Then he not really threw it in my face, but he said it was kind of fun. He's like, we're getting the last roof done. We don't have any roofs left after this. And you can come back.
Yeah. I saw Pete snap about it flying a kite, and I said, those boys better be done soon. I can't watch this.
You'd be surprised how many times we've set rafters where it's like flying kites.
Well, that's the last time you're setting rafters flying a kite, sir.
Nature of the beast.
Yep.
Aaron, it's Lynn's. How are you feeling today?
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I don't know. I've been pushing myself to walk around more because my legs, by the end of the day, keep getting sore. But I feel like if I keep walking around more and more, hopefully it'll get better. And like Pete said, he goes, you have to come to work and you get tired. Then you go home. He goes, that's how I had to do it when my shoulder was up.
Yeah.
So
You have to bleep your F words out.
sorry.
okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're doing well.
Yeah.
This is the first time he's been alone without me for a long time, so behave.
Mhm.
Okay.
No big parties.
Did you take your meds?
Yes, I did.
Good job. Okay.
She keeps calling me to come get some nicotine pouches though.
Wow. Okay. Cute. Remember when you quit for 3 weeks because you were in a hospital?
That was old news.
Yeah. Okay. Well, behave.
All right.
Love you.
You guys gonna be in St. Joe all day, or when you going to?
We'll be in St. Joe, but you cannot drive, so do not bring us anything.
No.
Not driving you anything.
Okay.
I was just seeing if you were working in St. Joe or if you were working in Laughlin.
Okay.
Huh?
You're suspicious.
Yes, you are. Behave.
Love you.
I love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
You're suspicious. Oh,
Okay. That was an intermission.
Thank you for listening. If you found this information helpful, please share it with a friend. If you're looking for more information on the topics we covered, please head to the show notes below. And if you wouldn't mind leaving a 5-star rating and review, this would help this mission and our journey to get started. Let's make today and every day an opportunity to level up. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep striving, and keep making a difference.